What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of
Two
YSN
for
Power.
Tuesday. We got this. Let's
That's
go.
it, man. It's me and you doing the old one-on-one. Eric Bailey joins me here on this Tuesday edition of the YSN Power Hour. Welcome along. EB, it is certainly an interesting time of year. The brackets, which we'll get into here in a little bit, you don't want to under appreciate them, but you also don't want to overstate them because that's what everybody's talking about. That's why it's the most wonderful time of the year, right? So without further ado, let's get to our national day so we can get this baby started. It is National Near Miss Day, and I told you this in the pre-show, and you had a little smirk on your face. How you feeling about the biggest near miss that you can speak of?
I mean, personally, it would be a couple weeks ago in the tournaments, but that's why I love and hate the game. It's one of those for me personal. I was on the opposite end, but it's why you learn you love to hate the game, but you hate to love it. And I think everyone lives for those moments. They're the ones you learn to cherish. Outside of that, the ones that I always remember are North Carolina. I'm a huge North Carolina fan, and it always seems someone beats them either in the tournament or it's Duke on the last second shot. In the national championship, that's a big hairy face. That's
what she said.
But in the national tournament against Villanova, they lost on a last second shot, and then I remember Austin Rivers, the last second shot, I believe at North Carolina where they were up, most of the game and kind of let Duke come back and blew, I think, his 17 or 18 point lead. All my near misses have never gone my way. So there's got to be something. I'm Irish. I'm the most unlucky Irish person there is. So there's something. A near miss has to go my way one of these days. But I guess that's why it's called a near miss. But,
well, there would be a make, right? Near make.
Well, yeah. Well, look, I'd much rather talk about a near miss about someone else than my own.
I'm sure. Your day's coming, EB. Don't worry. It's National Near Miss Day, Mr. Coach Seidel. Do you have a near miss you'd like to talk about professionally, personally?
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind for me is I had a couple near misses on the sideline this year where I was able to just get out of the way before, you get the kid rolling up on your knee or something like that. The older I get, the more I appreciate being able to save my knees here.
Oh, I can imagine. What are you, 46 now? You just celebrate your...
right about 36, yeah.
No, I can't make fun of you if you're 36. That's how old I am.
Yeah, a couple, not too long away from 37 here.
Nah, I can appreciate it. EB, you're what, 34, right?
Yep, 34.
So we're all in that same age bracket. We were all in high school in the same era, the same 4 years. If we went to the same high school, we would have been in the same high school. So interesting. My near miss, thank God, every day is the Steelers back in the 04 draft, I think. They wanted Phillip Rivers. And, oh, man, I hated it. I don't like the way he threw. And I can say threw because that guy is retired. We'll never have to see his face again until somebody tries to put him in the Hall of Fame for something he doesn't deserve because he wasn't even very good. He wasn't even in the Hall of Very Good. He doesn't belong there. But I digress. Luckily, the Chargers ended up... Wait, no. How did that go? Eli got taken by the Chargers.
And refused.
Then Rivers
got taken by the Giants, and they traded.
Yes.
And then Roethlisberger fell all the way to the Steelers, in the middle of the draft, or number 11, I think, from that standpoint, and the rest is history. So I'm just so grateful for that because I look back, and I don't think any Super Bowls happened in Pittsburgh if it was Phillip Rivers and not Ben Roethlisberger, especially early on in his career.
I don't know. They may have gotten that first one regardless because Roethlisberger wasn't the star of that first one. It was, Bettis that kind of led that.
You forget. Ben Roethlisberger had that touchdown-saving tackle. And Phillip Rivers was probably still chasing his kids around the sideline at that point in his career. So,
Ben Roethlisberger athlete.
Yes, super athlete. Thank you very much. But yeah, near misses. I mean, there's a lot of, you've seen a lot of them in the tournament here for college basketball, just all over the place. Near misses. EB, I think this is kind of one of those things we always talk about. Would you rather win by 20 or lose by 1, or lose by 20 or lose by 1? And everybody's got a different take on it. You like the ability to lose by 1 because you feel like you're in the game the entire time. At some point in every game, you feel that loss, whether it's when you're walking off the floor or whether you're still on it, and you lost. You feel the defeat. That's why I like being in the game the entire time and let the chips fall as they may. So I'm not, the near misses kill me, but it only makes you stronger, right? You learn from those experiences and then you kind of march on.
Yeah, I think the near misses hurt more, but also you learn more. Like when you lose by 1 or 2 or on a last second shot or in the last minute of the game, like then you can, and this is my personal take, you can narrow it down to generally a lot of the small things. And not in just basketball, but like you take football or baseball, and really any sport or life in general, it's everything's made up of small things. Or the best analogy I give a lot of players is if you take a picture, it's made up of thousands upon thousands of little pixels, and you need all those little pixels to create that picture. Now, when you start to take them away, if you lose by 20, you're losing, or you don't have a big chunk of that picture, so you'll never really see that part of it. Now, when you're missing a few pixels, maybe it's not in focus as much as it should be, but you start to add those little things. Now the big picture gets a little more clear.
I love it. Let's shift gears. We didn't get to talk a whole lot about brackets yesterday. We talked a little bit about my daughter who's kicking everybody's ass in bracket play. But let's talk about, is your bracket busted? Is it at this point only the strong are surviving? And in our pool, I'm really like there's someone, and I'm gonna try to pull him up here because it is incredible. I think he's got, out of there's 16 teams left, I think he's got 14.
That's impressive.
That's incredible.
This year, that's really incredible.
Or he's got Oral Roberts, or she. I don't know who this person is. It could be a she. I don't want to put that out of context. I apologize to anybody out there, and especially if it's this person. But at the top of the poll, there they sit, with a ton of points. And I think VCU was one of the only letdowns that they've had. Think about it. And the only reason they're not there probably is because of COVID. So are your brackets busted? I mean, the ones that we look at on the YSN Bracket Buster, a lot of us are not really standing at this point. We're just kind of sitting at 21 or below. How you feeling about your brackets, and what's been the biggest surprise to you? What team has been the biggest surprise to you thus far? We'll start with you, Coach.
Yeah, mine basically went bust on Friday when we were all hanging out together. I basically gave up and started rooting for chaos at that point. I've come to terms with the fact that my bracketology was not top notch this year. I'm very proud to say that I am also being spanked by a 3-year-old right now. But honestly, I think the biggest surprise for me right now is that UCLA team that had to play their way in, just kind of surviving and advancing so far. I think Gonzaga is what we thought they were going to be. They haven't really run into that solid test yet. And then the other big, surprise one, the one that kind of made my bracket blow up a little bit, was Oral Roberts over Ohio State. That one just kind of, I know a lot of people, it seemed like that one made them go bust, but that one kind of took me off guard and surprised me a little bit, especially after the strong showing that they had this season and then finishing up with a strong performance in the Big Ten tournament.
The highest out of all of our announcers, at least that are listed, is Poe, who is tied for 8th. However, he has Illinois winning it all, so he is ultimately going to fall by the wayside. And as much as I hate this, Page is sitting in 13th. So he's one of our regulars. Big Ten teams getting throttled. It was all an illusion.
That's a shot at me. It's a Big Ten year.
Yeah.
So quick one on the.
I'm shocked, man. I think I'm last or dang close. I got 2 teams left. Yeah, Paige is sitting at 13. Swinehart's at 13. Quinn is at 13. Sigler's at 13. And then my mom is at 18. With then you've got Coach B winning bracket. Not sure who Coach B would be. Any ideas?
Coach B. No.
And then you got Anthony at 18. I'm pulling up at 21 with Coach Johnson. Dennis Schiraldi's at 23 with the G-Man from Austin Town. Thorny's sitting at 23 as well. Then and then we've got people. Munson's at 28. Bailey's at 28 with Munson. Kate Kelly is at 28. Coach Scott from Heartland Christians at 28. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek's at 33.
Did I fall off the chart entirely?
Not good. What are you listed under?
I have no idea.
I'm guessing you're one of these ESPN fans.
Yeah.
I have no idea where you would be.
I didn't. That's how confident I was. I didn't put my name.
Didn't even sign your name to it. My favorite is one of the Burdine boys, dead last, saying if you're above me, you're ugly. Amos is in at 37, so he's not completely fallen off, but he's got Ohio State, and I think we all know how that story ends. So interesting enough. I was surprised how bad USC spanked Kansas last night.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that too.
K was on top for a while there.
That's what Billy said.
I was waiting for it. I knew it was going to happen. EB, this has got to be an interesting show to watch. It's got to be entertaining for you to watch all this chaos happen, in the college ranks.
Dude, I love it. You get to just be a fan of basketball. We were talking yesterday at the office. Like, Gonzaga is just, I think, head and shoulders above everyone else. I say this, and they'll probably drop the ball next weekend. But they have such a complete game. Inside out, they can slow down the game, they can speed it up. They do so many little things well. They're just a bad matchup for just about anyone. As a whole, it's what we all want. We all make these picks or these quote unquote educated guesses based off of strength of schedule and these I guess divisions and conferences people are in. But it doesn't matter because you just have to be good for one game, or you have to be hot at the right time, and it's all matchups. Oral Roberts, a lot of people felt coming into the tournament they were overlooked being put as a 15 seed. They felt they probably should have been like a 12 seed. Which if they're a 12 seed, then no one's really shocked by this. The biggest shocking team to me so far would be Illinois and Ohio State because they're the ones that everyone hyped up the whole time, coming in, the Big Ten. It's their conference that no one had a conference like them. And, dude, the Pac-12 is absolutely working everyone. Teams from the Pac-12 who are coming in at 10 seeds and 12 seeds because they were supposed to be average, and they're just putting it to everyone else. Look at Oregon State. I think Oregon State's probably the biggest surprise team of everyone. They're just kind of having their way and playing good basketball in general. I think next year what I'm going to do we should do it. Let's do our own YSN, not picking the right ones, but who can pick the most wrong.
Isn't that the same thing though?
Exactly, but you flip it.
How do you do that?
Because now you're kind of enticing the chaos. Like you're going to have everyone picking 15 over 2s and 16 over 1s, or you're going to look for the matchups the reverse way.
So you're literally saying who has the most wrong, incorrect.
Yeah. So now people are literally trying to pick all the upsets and see how far you get it.
Wow, that would be fun. I like that, actually. That might be a little fundraiser. We'll get that started. Kind of Yeah, what would you even call that? Reverse
I don't know.
buster?
The YSN screwed
Up.
no one.
Call it the March Sadness.
Oh, there we go.
The March. Yeah, because think about it. Once you get to the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, like it's just a straight crapshoot at that point.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, I have to apologize. I lied to you guys. I just opened up my app and I'm in that 8th place tie.
What? Who are you?
I am
Straight cash, homie.
133
Oh my gosh.
621.
You're disqualified.
I didn't know how to change my name.
You just didn't want to
Generally,
put
it's
your
a
name
little
on.
like pencil thing. Calls a lot of people call that edit. It's EDIT.
Well, radio. No, we got Radio Poe. You are tied with Poe and Pletch, and Suck My Ditka.
Yep, straight cash homie.
And we got Lala C. Figley. So I have no idea who some of these people are. We had over 40 people enter the poll this year. So congratulations if you're still in it. If you got if you have red there or that shade of pink for your champion, you're probably toast if you're not at the top right now. So Rodden 22 is going to be falling quickly from the 5th place spot. Or no, that's Max Solo. Max Solo goes down. I apologize to Rodden 22. Max Solo he was bragging the other day about being 4th. He's like, how am I still 4th? Not for long, buddy.
Yeah, he's
Not
going to
for long.
look like a rock this weekend.
March Insanity from Mark Roth. I like that. Coach literally just gave us the sad song about his bracket. Get out of here, 8th place. And Kate says, just glad I went further than Mac.
Chris, a couple of my favorites are out of there, though. A couple of my Final Four teams are missing, so I'm probably not going to finish very high in the end.
You picked Gonzaga, you slimy bastard. You picked Gonzaga, didn't you?
I did.
Let's take a look at this little poll. We got, all right, so you got Iowa in here?
I did.
USC and Oregon? Okay.
Ohio State all the way. What else we got? You national champ. There's your Gonzaga Bulldogs. Michigan and Florida State. That's a good one. It's a good bracket.
Had a solid one there.
Well, look at you taking Oregon State. That's nutsy.
A little ballsy.
Your Midwest bracket's completely shot, but
Yeah, that one's done.
Wow.
like that looks like one of my math tests. It's just all red everywhere.
Syracuse?
That's
No,
a gigantic spelling test.
you had West Virginia going.
I did. I really liked West Virginia, and they let me down.
You love Houston.
I was a fan of Houston this year.
Interesting.
I was
Interesting.
expecting bigger things.
And a 72-67 final score. Do you think this comes down to the final score this year?
With 40, there's a chance it does, especially with as many people as I'm seeing that pick Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I think that could be kind of where it comes down to the score.
Let's see. I can't get out of here, so let's take a look at mine. Virginia, they did me right.
They sure did.
Baylor and Villanova, I got that one. Arkansas and Ohio State. Oral Roberts obviously changed that up. I had Iowa and USC, so I had Iowa and Kansas. I take that back. So that was an upset for me last night. I had 67-61 final.
You got the Bulldogs there too.
Yeah, I liked LSU yesterday over Michigan. I was hot on the Tigers, but Michigan proved that they are one of the few in the Big Ten that are for real. Florida State also having a nice little season. This one's shot. Loyola and Oregon. I had Illinois and Oklahoma State. That's done. That's completely done. Alabama saving my ass right now. UCLA. I didn't even have them in it. Yes, I did. I had them winning here. It's a little confusing if you look at it like quickly because they still advance it, but they just use the cross out up here. See if we can get back to EB's. Yeah, there we go. Get EB's bracket.
My one bracket that I did on my own, it's actually not bad.
Where is EB?
Is that the unofficial bracket?
Yeah, the I'm not a part of anything.
Just business, baby. Yeah, dude, look at you. 420 points in this bracket. You just filled it out, though.
Yeah.
So what do we got here? All right, let's take a look. I feel like everybody but me got this one. This one's shattered.
100%.
This one's shattered. USC over Oregon. No, that's not. What am I talking about? I'm an idiot. Shut up. Michigan, Florida State, you had that one. Didn't have, man alive, EB.
See, my East bracket's keeping me alive on it.
That's right.
East bracket and just taking Gonzaga the whole way is the one that's all the points.
Which is funny to me because, like, everybody talks smack on Gonzaga when we started this thing. But everybody takes them. Everybody gets the confetti whenever they choose them.
Paige really likes Baylor. He's been saying it for a while now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but he took North Carolina.
Did he?
Right here. North Carolina, right?
Well,
That's fine.
Oh, okay. Wait. All right, you're right. That's.
You can pull up Pages and we'll make fun of him on the air.
Oh, Paige. You said Paige. Like
Yeah,
Baylor.
no, Paige.
I'm sorry.
Down there in the comments, he's mentioning if you don't have Baylor winning, you lost.
Oh yeah. Let's go. Where are we at? Brackets. Groups.
Let's see how you're doing, Paige.
Let's go take a look at Mr. Page's bracket. Page. He took Baylor. This one. So Page has Gonzaga. Look how far he took Ohio.
Wow.
Wow.
He probably did like, oh, they have green. I'm taking them. Green's the color of West Branch. Just move them on.
He had Purdue going all the way.
It was a case of mistaken identity.
Ohio State. So this one's toast for him.
Yeah.
Still picks USC. Everybody's in love with USC.
Dude, they're athletic.
Yeah.
Baylor. He took LSU here too. I respect for that, Pager.
Yep.
Florida State. Look, now he's upset. Now he's mad. Calling his green out. Loyal. He had Illinois here, which not a bad pick. Oklahoma State. I'm with him on that one. But then you got this one, Houston. Like, I had him out here. That's what screwed me. I picked the upset. I picked Cleveland State, and that's what bites me in the ass. Because when I'm watching these guys, it's one of the few basketball games I saw leading up to the tournament. And, of course, they looked like they were garbage. Absolutely hot garbage. Lost my first Final Four team last night. Took a shot on Colorado. So Swinehart, Colorado's another team I can't get behind. Like, when you think Colorado, you don't think of college basketball. I think of Cordell Stewart and a Hail Mary to Michael Westbrook? Alabama. I wasn't big on Bama either because that's a football school.
Dude, I'm huge on Bama. I love their coach. Nate Oates is phenomenal.
Yeah, Nate's, and especially after that feature that they did with him over the weekend, how do you not like the guy?
I've been a fan of him since he was at Buffalo. Nate Oates he's the coach, or he should be, anyone who's a high school coach, like that should be the person that you're behind, because he went from high school D3, D2, like he did the whole thing all in a matter of like 10 years. Like he went from being a high school coach to a D1 coach at Buffalo. Then, he had Uber's amounts of success at Buffalo. Buffalo was a real deal a couple years ago. Then he went down to Bama, instantly started to turn them around. And you could tell, once he started to get the athletes and kids that he was going to recruit in there, because he does a lot more small baller with, 4 guards and a pretty fairly athletic big, I don't a smaller big, like I don't want to call 6'8" small, but in terms of, college and NBA basketball, it's a pretty undersized big. And he just spreads the floor and attacks the hell out of you. I could probably break down a lot of his sets. If you guys really want to get into the horn set, the Ivos, the box, everything, we can get into that. But that's another day.
I think that's a show, right, DJ?
It's a nerd alert. Yeah, we're just going to call it nerd alert. EB breaks down basketball. I mean, I think people would enjoy it, but
I told you last Friday we're going to come in, sit on the couch. It's going to be called Couch Convos, and we'll just sit there and line up a couple coaches and let them sit there and talk, man.
Just have them break down film?
Just break down film or just talk different sets or things that they like. I bet you it would go over well. I mean, could you imagine if you had, like, the couches in the back, if you had, like, Blanche, Cullen, then you throw in, someone like you throw in like a Huck, and then you throw in like you have 2 retired, someone who's kind of been a little bit established, and then you throw in like a Fish who's he's been around the block, but he's only in his 3rd year of being a head coach. That just the conversations that you would hear, not only from a basketball standpoint, but the stories they would share would be phenomenal.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would love having that. That might be something we work on here this summer as we get ready for the high school football season as well. I know a guy that would probably volunteer to take in some stories about some gridiron classics, I'm sure.
Well, you throw in good old Sebring Seidel down there, and then you get a little Danny Yeagley and throw in, a couple of these other guys who've been around for a while. Like, people don't realize, like, a coach like Coach Cusick, he was fairly young, but he's been around for 20 plus years, not only just as a head coach, but as an assistant coach. And I think if you throw someone like Julia in there and you start to branch out like his coaching tree that he's had around here, you'd have that might have to be like a 3-hour special if you have Julia in there, because his stories will just go in for a while.
They'll all talk. It would be gold, but it would be tough to get the microphone or the stick, as we say. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break, or at least showcase some sponsors here during the show. But when we come back to regularity, we are going to talk about this ESPN article that's really interesting to me. It's titled "Lawsuits, Secret Tapes, and the Unraveling of a Powerhouse High School Football Program," and it's written very well by Mark Schlabach of ESPN, a senior writer there. So it was released at 7 a.m. this morning. I've had a chance to skim through it. Coach has completely ingested it. EB skimmed through it, and we're going to discuss the difference between things in the South and at these major high school programs, and maybe things that happen here under the YSN banner of schools that we have currently. But first, I want to talk to you about our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They are trust-driven, and they are certainly where you need to go for your next vehicle, whether it is new, used, or you just need service on your Chevrolet. Make sure you head over to Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, the official Chevrolet sponsor of your sports network. Make sure you tell them YSN sent you, and make sure you give a fist bump or an elbow bump or whatever we're doing nowadays to Greg Greenwood, who is one of the best leaders in the Valley. So make sure you give them love over there. Also want to draw attention to our partners over at Baird Brothers, proudly presenting today's show, the Ysn Power Hour, to you. They were the first ever corporate sponsor here at YSN, and they continue to support us in everything they do, and we do as well. So we want to say thank you to Scott, Tyler, and the entire crew over at Baird Brothers. continue to do unbelievable work. So if you're looking to put anything in your home or anything that has to do with fine hardwoods, make sure you head over to bairdbrothers.com and get started today. They will not let you down. I can say that with an absolute promise and a guarantee, because their work that they do, unbelievable. Like, we're looking to upgrade the home. We talked to Baird Brothers. We went to bairdbrothers.com. Sarah's having a field day picking things from Baird Brothers, to the point where I said, listen, hold up. We're not building a new house. We're just upgrading and trying to do some different restoration projects here at home to upgrade. Our house is only like 12 years old, but houses outdate quickly. Do you ever realize that? Like, how quickly they outdate?
Oh, so yeah. It's real quick. And you're right. The Baird guys, unbelievable job. I've got some Baird products here at my house. Couldn't be happier.
No, they take care of their stuff. They make sure they stand by everything that you purchase or that they install. So, what? Head over to bairdbrothers.com and get started today. Make sure you tell them Ysn sent you. And a special thank you to all our sponsors for helping out and promoting what we do here at Ysn. We couldn't do it without you, and especially our fans. I mean, it's a big situation. I put on social media last night, a year ago yesterday, we had to make a very tough decision of what we were going to do. Everybody was shutting down because they thought, okay, we'll shut down for 2 weeks and then it's over, right? Yeah. Some people didn't open their doors back up, and that was kind of what I was afraid of, because you don't shut down a country for a week and it goes away. And we chose to keep on going. We fall under the media category, and we utilized that, and we got stronger and faster and bigger, and we were able to inform and entertain the entire time. So kudos to our fans who kept us up and going, and kudos to you guys, who were there and continued to push us, and everybody under the YSN banner that helped us become what we are today, and we're continuing to push towards tomorrow. So a special thank you to everybody out there as well. So all right. Let's talk. Enough with the gushy stuff. Let's talk about this article. Matt, I gotta say, when I read this was one I thought of you in the first place. You love this stuff. You eat it up like a chicken leg, because this is the stuff that you're up against all the time in recruiting and transfers and all this stuff, open enrollment. How did this just perfect encapsulate what you're up against on a weekly, daily, and sometimes hourly basis? You don't have to speak for Sebring, but as a coach, this is what you're up against.
No, right away when I read the article when I first got up this morning, I always try and react to articles and things like that outside of just my little bubble of being the head coach at Sebring, and how is just the average sports fan going to react to reading this article? And it's a bombshell article. It's exposing some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes at some of the big programs. I don't think that it's so prevalent in our area, but it's some of the stuff that we've seen here in Ohio. I know it's happening all the time down south. In Texas, when you've got head coaches, and I think there's now 22 coaches in the state of Texas that make six figures plus coaching high school football. When you're talking about programs that demand that level of success, there's going to be rules that are bent. There's going to be things that, are workarounds that happen. And, I think that more people need to understand some of the challenges that face, especially the small schools. You get a kid that is incredibly gifted and is from your town and has been around your town. There are pressures on that kid constantly, whether they know it or not. I guarantee their parents have been contacted. Kids are getting contacted all the time, especially in the technology age that we're in now, about, hey, we want you to come over to our place. We think that you could be the next big thing for us. And I think the first thing that always pops into everybody's mind when they hear a story like this is, just because it was so big here, was the Justin Zwick Maslin thing. They basically gave his father a job so that he would come play football for the Massillon Tigers, and ends up being an Ohio State recruit. Loses out on the job down there to Troy Smith, and the rest is history. But it happened, and it happens here. And I'll tell you from personal experience, I had it happen to me. I was offered an opportunity to leave Sebring when I was a junior in high school and join another bigger program. I'm not going to expose names or blow anybody up here, but guys get reached out to all the time.
This is an interesting story from a bunch of different angles because everybody thinks when recruiting is in the picture, they think what? They think parochial schools. They think that's not the case. That's just not the case, and everybody thinks it is, but it's not the case. Now with open enrollment, schools are yes, they're up against it because there's a lot of regulations, and this is what you have to do if you open enroll. You miss half the year. It's the back half of the year plus the playoffs or postseason in that perspective. But there's also so many loopholes to jump through, and this kind of exposes it. I mean, they had lawsuits, and they were trying to claim coach was very successful. I mean, very, very successful. One coach, he was a white coach, and he claimed because, five of the school board members were African-American and the other four were Caucasian, he tried to claim racism in a lawsuit, which was ultimately, I believe, dismissed as it was in the article. But from this standpoint, the African American community was forced to hire another Caucasian coach because they didn't want to feed the monster, as it were. And that coach comes in, and now he's got a secret tape out there about sending kids to Alabama and Georgia because they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for that pipeline. We saw what happened here locally at Ohio State. We saw all this stuff kind of transpire from the Buckeye point of view. What is going to happen to college football if any kind of I guess judgment is handed down to an Alabama or a Georgia? Does it shake up the entire landscape of college football, EB?
Well, then you have to go to literally every college in America and do the same things, which no one wants to hear. But if you go after Alabama, if you go after Georgia, then you have to go after LSU, then you have to go after Clemson, then you have to go after USC and Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame. I think people aren't naive enough to know that it's not happening. They just turn a blind eye to it. It's just how it is anymore. And I think when it happens in football, it's a bigger shakeup for a couple different reasons. One, because football is America's sport. Two, you can't hide money as easily in football as you can in baseball, basketball, volleyball, all these other sports, because you don't have like a club season. Basketball and volleyball, you have club organizations, so you have these other people who you can kind of filter and funnel money through. Football, you almost have one point of contact, or you have one avenue in, one avenue out, and that's generally the high school program. So if you're gonna go after a big dog like that, like in Alabama or a Georgia, then you have to go after everyone. And it's I really think this comes down to more on the NCAA just not having it's something they know they can't control, and it's something that they try to control. But the way that the NCAA is built, they kind of just write the rules on the fly, and they do it in pencil, so they can sit there and be like, oh well, shit, we did it for this one. So you can't say that we're not doing anything. But then they erase it, and then they throw something else in there for someone else, because they know if you take out an Alabama or a Texas or a USC or Ohio State, your blue bloods of college football, you're losing a fan base. And at the end of the day, you pack a stadium with 110,000 people, that's a $10 billion business right there. Outside of March Madness, college football is the moneymaker for the NCAA. So you can't sit there, and the NCAA has to tread very carefully on how they want to handle something like it. Now they're probably hoping it just gets dust under the rug. From a college, not a college, from a high school football standpoint, this is just kind of one of many. You have arguably 11 states in the United States that are like huge, huge, huge football schools or football states. Texas is kind of a world of its own. Florida, a world of its own. You get into some of those California schools, it's just a different world, and sometimes people really don't care. They're just like, hey, it's all about me and what I'm doing. How can I rob Peter to pay Paul, and then also you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah, this is a story on ESPN.com, an article again that is it's a must read, especially for a high school football connoisseur, someone that really enjoys it, because it's an eye opener. Not that you don't think that stuff like this is going on around the country with some of these programs, but it's one that kind of brings everything to light, and it shows the mistakes that were made along the way. And I think that's what I like about this article. It lists the 6 national championships, 24 state titles, 42 regional championships, and much of Valdosta High School's success came before the end of the 20th century. They said Wildcats won 4 state championships in the 80s, 3 more in the 90s. After an 18-year drought, Wildcats finally claimed another one in Alan Rodemaker's first season as head coach in 2016, where he has been absolutely dominant, because in that stretch from 2016 to 2019, that was the most wins in a 4-year stretch at Valdosta High School since 1995 to 1998. So they're doing something right. And then all of a sudden, he gets a text message from the superintendent saying at 9:30 at night saying, unfortunately, your contract was not renewed. Come see me in the morning.
So that's the other part of this that I think people need to be made aware of, DJ, is, as coaches at the high school level, we are typically not on multi-year contracts. We are year-to-year seasonal employees with a stipend, basically. I've got no problem telling you, because it's public information and you can look it up. My stipend for coaching at Sebring is $6,000 a year, and it's over. I get non-renewed in November of every single year. For any reason at all, basically, they can just decide you're done and non-renew you for the next year and move on to the next coach. You have to give a ton of respect to the guys that have done it at the same school for years and years and years and years, because they've been able to play the political games that happen behind the scenes too, and keep everybody happy within the administration and the community and the players. And there's a lot that goes into this. And, when you look at these stories, it seems like every couple of years we see one of these big national stories about high school football pop up. And this one's, got a lot of attention, because you're talking about Valdosta, you're talking about Hoover, and you're talking about ties with Georgia and Alabama. So you're talking about national names on the college level and the high school level in this particular story. It's not a matter of if at the college level you're going to get caught. It's a matter of when. Everybody's going to have their issue, especially if you're one of those Power 5 conferences. So if you're an Alabama fan and you're sitting there saying Nick Saban can do no wrong, he's not doing any of these things, bide your time, because it's coming. And, if you're a USC fan, you've been through it. If you're an Ohio State fan, you've been through it. And at the high school level, these bigger programs, these large communities that just live and die with their football programs, you're finding out some of the underworld of that situation that exists there, with things being swept under the rug and accusations against players that maybe get pushed to the side and, they get taken care of by a booster or somebody. It's happening everywhere around you. So don't think it's not happening, somewhere close to you.
Well, I was just going to say too, like, back on the college side of things, like, if you think it's not happening at, Alabama's, a lot of times it's not the head coach. They're a part of the collateral damage, the institutional control, because it generally is the booster who's funneling the money, or as you saw a lot in college basketball, generally it's an assistant coach who's setting all this stuff up, because it's not just the head coach who's recruiting your kid. Generally, it's a position coach in that college ranks, like, hey, we want you as a wide receiver. I think, who is it down at Ohio State? And this has nothing, just because I know the position. It's like Brian Hartline. So he's going to be the one recruiting the actual wide receiver. But, it's collateral damage for the whole program. And so it only takes one person to really implode the whole powder keg for the whole program.
Yeah, and that's the danger of it, right? Is once that domino falls, it's just a snake hole that reporters and bloggers go down to figure out how they can not dethrone. I don't want to say that they're doing this intentionally, but they're trying to find their story. They're trying to make their name too out of this. So when this happens, like, this is the very tip of the iceberg with this story. I mean, it comes out, and now the investigations have to start with the NCAA, with, of course, Georgia and Alabama, as they're the mainstays of this. But there was another part in this story that I thought was particularly interesting, especially here locally, because coaches are so worried, and superintendents and school boards are so concerned with open enrollment nowadays. But really, it's just open enrollment in your immediate area, because families oftentimes don't have the funds to just pick up and leave to go to from town to town, right? So it's interesting that a young man from and a highly recruited quarterback, I believe, from California, was going to make a transfer to this this school in Valdosta, and it garnered a lot of headlines, because you want to talk about open enrollment. You open enroll from one side of the country to the other. That's the real deal. Coach, when you read that, and it never panned out, they ultimately canceled the transfer.
It never panned out for Valdosta, but he did end up in an Atlanta school district. But here's how crazy the whole thing became: is his parents had to become legally separated for him to be able to play high school football last year in Georgia, because he transferred from California, and they ruled that it wasn't a valid move, that they had not actually moved their entire family. Mom stayed in California. Dad moved with the kid to Georgia so they could play high school football, and they stayed married. So, they did their due diligence in Georgia and said, hey, this is strictly athletic based, and we're not going to let this fly. But you're right, DJ. I think a lot of people overlook some of the open enrollment stuff now, and some of the other stuff. We're basically in a time now, and I've had discussions with other coaches about this topic, where we're in an arms race right now. School districts are, for the best kids, and not even just athletically, but academically. School districts are competing for the best and the brightest, and bringing in kids and opening up their enrollment and growing their enrollment. And so what we're starting to see is some of the schools that really get it starting to treat education more and more like a business. And they're doing the right things educationally, but behind the scenes at the administrative level, they're really starting to treat it like a business. And there's districts in our area that are doing some of the right things and treating athletics as an avenue to grow their district.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You see schools now have marketing departments and promotions, and basically a sales team to go out there. They advertise their schools on billboards, on television, on streams. It's really interesting, and I've said this for a long time. Churches are businesses, schools are businesses, politics is business. If you're able to see the business aspect from all that you do, you're ahead of the game, because no longer are the days that people do things just to do them. There's something in it for them. You have to think that way, because it's a business. You are a brand. You, Matt Seidel, are a brand, and whatever you represent, whether it be Sebring football on Friday nights, or if it be the YSN guy who interviews during spring, the Sebring coaches, or whoever you end up, like, you are a brand and a part of that program, and that's how it calculates to guys like me. which is so interesting because now with open enrollment, the way that it's treated here locally, how long until we start seeing, pulls from Indianapolis and from West Virginia and from Pennsylvania? There was a moment that I thought like schools across the border here locally might find their way, the students might find their way over to Ohio because we were going to have football, and at that time Pennsylvania was not. So are we that close to seeing kind of cross border open enrollment?
I'm interested in EB's take on this because we've seen it a few times, over the past 20 years on the basketball side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's examples on the football side, but I'm trying to, the name's escaping me right now, but down in Cincinnati, he ended up becoming an NBA player and he came across from Indiana.
You're thinking of OJ Mayo.
Yeah, OJ Mayo.
Yeah, he came from Kentucky, and how that all worked out is, he started varsity in 7th grade, played his 4 years of eligibility in Kentucky, and then he transferred to Ohio to continue his varsity career. I forget what school he went to, but it was him and Bill Walker. They both ended up going to Kansas State as well. But it happens. I mean, there's a Catholic school over in Pennsylvania, who is bringing in kids from the Youngstown area, and they're a pretty damn good, girls basketball program of girls and boys actually. So I think if anything, what the past year did with schools and uncertainty is it definitely should have raised some eyebrows of, hey, these are some of the loopholes that we really have overlooked or we've taken for granted or we just didn't really notice in years prior. And this could potentially be a very big problem, especially, as there's been more talk of schools going online. And I look at it sort of like like the colleges. We were talking about this Friday, like Grand Canyon University, who has 97,000 students enlisted, and 67 of them are online. If you have high schools that take that avenue, who's to say, well, I'm going to live 45 miles away, but I'm going to enlist here and I'll just drive for my athletics and everything else. And you do it already a lot of times for your JO volleyball teams and your AAU basketball teams and your club baseball teams. So I think schools should really start to look at that. And if you're a business, why not sit there and open that up? Hey, register on our online course and we'll just Zoom on in and then come play football for us on Friday nights. That's where's the OHSAA going to sit there and say, well, we don't like that. You can't do that. And the kids are just going to sit there and go, well, I'm going to an inner city school and they grade F on your Ohio State report card. So I'm just bettering my education. Maybe I just expose a little loophole for people. Go start recruiting it. But also in the same turn, there's been some good kids in our area to where they would cross the border and go play over in PA because they had better football teams or better baseball opportunities or whatnot. So it's always been there. It's just, I think people always just try to like turn a blind eye to it. And, schools want to sit there and be like, well, that's not our way of doing things. That's not our way of doing them. Well, now everyone's going to have open enrollment. You can count more schools in the area who don't have open enrollment than who do. And I think everyone's going to start to do it because of the money that you get for it, and that's why you get so many leagues shifting. Well, we don't like this team because they stole our kids from open enrollment. We want them back. And the only thing that we can do is kick them out of the league. So now they have to travel further. Well, shit, now we wish they were back in our league because, we have to pick up teams from further away or we can't, fund a whole league or whatnot. It's a slippery slope for a lot of people. And I think what they really need to do is, instead of taking it all the way down to the bottom and really looking at it and building from there, they just sit there and try to build a new wall. And it's getting a little too top heavy.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me too. Like for years, anybody that's kind of got any kind of a business background, you think in terms of market research and kind of doing your homework on who your audience is. And schools really haven't done that up until now. But the schools that we're seeing, especially some of the local districts that are being really successful at attracting students and attracting athletes, what you're seeing them do is they're starting to do market research on high school kids. What's our audience? What are they interested in? And what are the things that we can do as a district or as a program to be able to attract some of the best talent in the area to maybe want to come over to our school and even if they move in or whatever it might be. I mean, you think of Canfield and you think of being one of the top rated schools in the entire state of Ohio, and they've been able to leverage that to their advantage. Even though they don't have open enrollment, people move to Canfield because the education is so good.
No, I love it. I think it's a good conversation. I think we're going to continue it as this story develops. But I want to make sure everybody gets out to hit your internet browsers and go to ESPN.com and take a look at the story. It's about a 10-minute read or so. It's exciting. It's if you're into high school sports, it's going to raise a lot of flags for you, and not necessarily all red, but it's going to open your eyes to some stuff that Ohio doesn't necessarily have, the blanket covered on all this stuff. And for those that say it doesn't happen here, I think you need to just kind of hold on to something, because I think there's going to be a lot that comes from this story nationally as well as at the college ranks as well. So that's going to lead us to our G. Berwick Farms What's Your Beef, What's Your Filet, brought to you by G. Berwick Farms. Visit them on New Buffalo Road in Columbiana, the home of Eric Bailey. Not actually G. Berwick Farms. He doesn't live there, but he lives in Columbiana.
I wish I did, man. I got the smoker rolling. Let's go.
Yeah, do you right now?
Yeah.
I'm coming out to you. Well, I'm going to come to Columbiana tonight because there's a special going on at a Columbiana restaurant. We'll just leave it there for crab pizza. So I'm going to partake in crab pizza tonight for my lovely wife, Sarah, who is very deserving of a little treat tonight. So we're going to get crab pizza and what they call Godfather pizza. They're still a survivor in the March Pizza Madness bracket, so make sure you get out to vote, number one. And then, it's one of those things where it's that time of year. It's a nice night out tonight. Go grab a pie from your local pizza establishment and support them in that way as well. If you're not going to support them necessarily on the votes, get out there and spend some money at local establishments, especially the ones that sponsor here on YSN. So G. Berwick Farms, I know, is going to be open. No, I take that back. He's going to be in Florida. So we'll get you some open hours for him. But the best way to do it, go online and go to gberwickfarms.com and at least schedule an appointment or just buy online, and he'll have it ready for you when you roll up. So, all right, what is your beef /filet /both /whatever? How hungry are you, EB?
It's just a filet, dude. First time 2021 I've gotten to break out the smoker, so that's what I've been doing all day, which the beef to that all is sitting there smelling it all day until I can actually eat it, but that should be here in about probably an hour or so. But got some bacon on there from Greg, and then also I still have some steaks that I'm saving for this summer to do that I want to do, but we'll get that going. Got some chicken, some bacon, doing some baked potatoes in the smoker. The only beef to that is once I start going through the freezer, like I want to do everything. I'm like, dude, I can do shit. I can do the sausage. There's a loin. We can do the loin. And then the eyes are always bigger than the stomach, but that's a filet for the day.
It's delicious. All right, Matt, what do you got?
We got to pick a day and have like a barbecue day and a smoke-off day at headquarters down there, because EB's got me hungry now just thinking about it.
Well, that's you guys. I can't. I'm not good at that stuff. That's all you.
You got the truck. We'll
Let's do it
up and I'll take down the griddle. We'll take down the smoker. I
think it's a plan. I'll load mine up and we'll make a trip.
You get Sandman Entertainment down here. We got some music. We'll get some people.
It's like a YSM block party.
Dude, we probably have enough sides still from Sarah the other day. Don't tell her 25 people are coming in, not like 100, and we'll be okay.
Hey, I told her she cooks for an army all the time, and her thing, she always says, well, I just follow the recipe. I looked at her after she made that buffalo chicken dip, and it was a crock pot, and we ate like kings of
Yes.
that buffalo chicken dip. I said, you did not follow the recipe. And she goes, no, I didn't. I cooked. I didn't know how many people were coming. So yeah, but it was good. It's still there. I'm still eating it.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and go with a filet today, and what it's going to be is I'm going to kind of bounce off of that last story that we were talking about a little bit, and the negative gets a lot of the attention, and rightfully so because it needs to be exposed, and some of the corruption needs to be talked about. But my filet is the fact that we've got some incredible coaches locally that do things the right way. They go by the book. They're not trying to bend the system at all to their advantage. They just, honestly, there's guys that I really admire in the coaching ranks in our area here and in the YSM family that they just always seem to do the right thing. And they need to be talked about just as much. And so, they're going to be my filet for today.
I love it. I love it. My filet and slash beef is I can't kind of diversify this one. So you can tell me whether it's one or the other, or if it's a little piece of both. So now is a seller's market for housing. So if you're looking to buy a house right now, you are in a bad spot because sellers are getting what they want, when they want it. Bidding wars aplenty. And that's anywhere you go. I mean, it's here locally. It's all over the country, which is great for loan officers like our friends, the MLO bros, and all those people that are in that industry. But I'll tell you what, for those of us who are in the housing market, maybe not immediately, but kind of taking the temperature and dipping our toe in the water, it's crazy out there. I mean, these homes are going as fast as 24 hours. Where they're just, how much do you want for it? All right, here it is. Boom, done. From me, I love making decisions very quickly. Like, just get it done, get it off the table, move on, next page, thank you very much, on to the next one. Whereas my wife is very analytical, and that's good, because if it were up to me, we would have Snickers for dinner every night, because that's the last thing I see in the checkout line, right? But she plans out things. So when we're looking at homes, she has a checklist of things she loves. Like, she looks at Zillow the way that I look at ESPN and sports and the YSN app. She looks at Zillow constantly. It's like her relaxing time. It gives me crazy anxiety because I'm like, nope, can't find it, sold. So my beef is that the homes are selling, but my filet is that I'm excited to move on to the next stage at some point, hopefully in the next few years. But for now, it's exciting to get the house ready with the kind of the way that we always wanted it. But the thing that sucks is it's for somebody else. We're basically making improvements on the house for somebody else to live in it, so we can sell it for a little bit higher value. But yeah, that's my beef for filet, man. It's an interesting market out there right now in the seller's market. We weren't in a buyer's market when we built our house 12 years ago or so. We were just in the right place at the right time. But man, I'm really hoping in the next year, maybe or so, that it's a buyer's market, so we can kind of strike while the iron's hot.
Well, it's a tough balancing act, right? Because you're going to be selling and buying at the same time. So you almost want to sell and then sit for a couple months and see if maybe it changes a little bit.
Well, we'll be living down at HQ if that's the way it's going to go.
You got couches, candy dish.
Couches.
I mean, hopefully there's a candy dish left. Yeah, I saw Candy Monster take half of it, or I heard Candy Monster.
He was out today. Usually when he's all by his lonesome, he tries to sneak out as we start the show and get a pocket full of delicious candy that is supplied by my beautiful and lovely wife for all of us here. All of us, Poe. All of us.
You should have kept the leftovers there, and they would have been gone.
That's right.
No way. I'm going to put a bear trap out, I think, with a piece of rank meat and see what happens to it. So, all right, boys. We made it through the three amigos, making it all the way through another show. Tomorrow we will have Super Dave and Scotty with us, so at least we got that going for us. And hopefully at some point we see the Bash brothers back. Quinn and Mac still out doing their thing with the Headed Home series, which is just unbelievable, which is why they're getting a pass. But, at some point, the Roosters are going to come home to roost Bobby Boucher. So, all right, that's going to do it for a Tuesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on